Hey guys, what's poppin'? So we're doing a talking to the camera video today. Why? Well, we're gonna do NBA, so this video is probably gonna get like 3 total views. It's also kind of late in the day, so I'm sorry about that. But this is kind of early in my day because if you guys don't know, I actually work graves at a hospital. So for you guys, when this will go up, it's probably like 8 p.m. For me, it feels like 8 a.m. because I have a completely shifted internal clock. But so I was able to watch the recaps from the basketball games today. I just want to talk about it real quick. Obviously, the big one, the Lakers. I think the video is probably going to be called like the Lakers are in trouble or something like that. And usually I'm like last year on the podcast, I was like, yep, Lakers might lose to the Trailblazers. And I spat out all these reasons. Yeah, that was stupid. I look back on that and that was dumb. But now I think that the Lakers genuinely might be in trouble because of the Anthony Davis injury. And I'm not going to lie, this is what you get with Anthony Davis, man. I mean, he is a very, very injury-prone player. He's a consistent player who you know what he's going to give you most nights. I think game 1 was obviously like a fluke. But most nights you know what he's going to give you. But it's the whole when he plays or if he plays. So, he goes down, what was the third quarter with the groin injury. And, a lot of people were saying that, the Lakers can still win because DeAndre Ayton didn't have that great of a game, even with Anthony Davis injured after getting injured. Yeah, and DeAndre Ayton did. Sorry, guys, my mind's going a million miles an hour. Ayton had 14 and 17. 14 and 17. That's a great game. Yeah, it's his worst of the series. That's still a great game. So, I mean, if Ayton's going to give you 14 and 17 for the rest of the series, I would probably say the Suns are going to win. The CP3 came back. He looks, I'm going to say 90 to 95%. I think the 2 days off definitely helped out a lot. He only played, I think, 31 minutes and dropped 18 points. And that's really, really good because I think the game before he had played either 23 or 25, something like that. So, I mean, with a 6-minute difference, he looked a lot better. He was also conducting the team a lot better. And I think one of the biggest things for the Suns, too, that could really swing this series is the fact that, D-Book didn't have a great game. That's not because of him. The Lakers just had a really good game plan for him defensively. And another thing that really helped them out, the Suns out this game, was the three-pointer. I mean, the first 2 games especially, they weren't really shooting the 3-ball that well. But now their wing players, especially McCall Bridges and Jay Crowder, are actually making their three-pointers. I don't think Jay Crowder's going to make as many as he's not going to be as consistent as he was in today's game, but I think McCall Bridges is going to be a lot more consistent because he's a good three-point shooter. He just wasn't very good in the first couple of games. And honestly, the way the Suns were shooting the first 2 games was one of my biggest concerns with them in the series. But I mean, it looks like they're starting to find their groove. They have CP3 probably getting more minutes now. It wouldn't surprise me if, because I think most of the starters played 38 minutes in today's game. It wouldn't surprise me if CP in the next game got 34, 35, and that'll help them out a lot, especially down the stretch, not only defensively, but just, I think one of the biggest things that was kind of shown in game 3 was the fact that, towards the end of the game, even though it was close for the most part, the Suns didn't really know how to kind of distribute the ball offensively towards the end of the game. And so they were in it, but they were making really bad decisions. Now, with a veteran presence like CP3 there, he's going to know how to approach that situation. He's going to know how to orchestrate, and tell players where to go. And he's basically the coach at that point because Monty Williams he's never had this experience. CP3 is essentially the coach in the playoffs. And so with him getting healthier and healthier, that's going to be huge for the Suns. Game 5 is going to be in Phoenix, so I do think Phoenix will probably take that game. But the reason I say that is because I'm pretty confident that Anthony Davis will not play in that game. If Anthony Davis plays in Game 6 in LA, I think the Lakers will take that and it goes to 7. If Anthony Davis doesn't play in Game 6, I would not be surprised if the Suns took this game in Los Angeles. It's just hard, man. I mean, LeBron, count it now, he's probably going to drop 45 or 50 in Game 5 because he's going to have to do it all. I mean, Schroeder's not going to give you 30. He might give you 20, but he's not going to give you 30. Trez is not going to give you 25. You'll get lucky. You'll be lucky if you get 20 out of him. All the role players on that team, Kuzma, Caruso, all of them, they're not going to be any difference makers. I don't see that happening because the Suns are such a deep team and they're such a good team defensively as well. I don't know, man. The Anthony Davis injury is the biggest thing for me. I mean, we saw how much LeBron struggled in his first year with the Lakers, and that was because the roster was so bad. I honestly think that if Anthony Davis was not on this team, this Lakers team, I think this current roster is worse than the first roster that LeBron had kind of inherited when he went to LA. So, and that team didn't even make the playoffs. So I am a little bit worried about the Lakers. At the end of the day, though, they do have LeBron, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But it's a huge concern. I mean, like I said, Ayton only had 14 and 17. It would not surprise me if he probably will give you about 22 for the rest of the series. D-Book is probably going to start finding his groove again and probably going to give you, again, 22 to 25 in the series. CP3 is not going to give you that many points. I mean, 18 is probably a pretty good, bar for him to reach. But I think the biggest thing for CP is just him being on the court. It doesn't matter if he's scoring. I have to sneeze. Yeah. CP doesn't even have to be scoring to be a difference maker. He just has to be on the court, and I think that just kind of builds confidence. And I mean, if you guys played like 2K14, 2K15, he has that on-court coach badge. So yeah, I mean, if AD, I really don't think AD will play in Game 5, so I think I'm pretty confident the Suns will take that game. But if AD does come back in Game 6, this series will go 7, and I think that Game 7 will be really, really good and really, really interesting to watch. Because, I mean, for the most part, the game was close up until Anthony Davis got hurt. The Suns were kind of slowly pulling away and then pulled away. I mean, it was only like a 12-point win at the end of the day. But it felt like much more just because of how dominant the Suns were down the stretch. And I'm going to give that to CP. All right, moving on to other games. The Nets game is currently on right now, so we'll talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about what I thought was going to be like one of the best series in the playoffs and is slowly looking like it might be over in 5 somehow. That's the Knicks and the Hawks series. So, yeah, the Hawks won by almost 20. One of the things I was talking to my friend Kylie about when we were talking about this series, and we were talking about how Trae Young's been really, really good, but one of the biggest surprises has been the people who have not been playing that good, and I think the biggest one for me was John Collins has not been that productive nor dominant in this series, and he's a really, really good player. And I was telling her, I was like, John Collins is definitely due for like a 20-point game, and he did that. He had 20? He had 22 today and a plus-minus of 15 and 8 rebounds. And 2 offensive rebounds. That's huge for them. He also was perfect from the free throw line and had a really, really good shooting day. He was 2 for 3 from the three-pointer and 6 from 10 from the field goal, or from just in general. So really good shooting day for him. He's a young player, so I don't know if this is going to be a consistent thing for him, but, it's kind of like I was saying with the Suns and D-Book and all the younger players who are not as experienced in the playoffs. He's probably going to start to find his groove, especially being up 3-1, you're comfortable, and you're kind of willing to take more risks and take more shots because you feel like, whatever, we're still a 2-game lead. Clint Capella, 12 rebounds, 3 of them offensively, or 15 rebounds, 3 of them offensive, a plus-minus of 19, but he only had 10 points. So I think he has the highest plus-minus. Oh, no, Bogdanović had the highest plus-minus. That's wild. He had the second, but Capella had the second highest plus-minus. I think it's just because of the difference he makes on the boards. I mean, if you look at this, JP, this is not a podcast. Stop interrupting this. If you look at the Knicks, they don't have size. I mean, yeah, they have Julius Randle as a power forward, but like Julius Randle is essentially a small forward power forward. He's not a power forward center. And you have Taj Gibson, who's old. He shot 3 for 4 today, but let's see, rebound-wise, he had 3. If you're looking at the Hawks, they had John Collins, who had 8. They had Clint Capella, who had 15. You had Bogdanović, who had 8. And off the bench, you had Gallinari, who had 4, which is a pretty important 4, honestly. But then you're looking at the Hawks. Okay, Julius Randle had 10. And then the second most went to either RJ Barrett or Alex Burks, who both had 6. So I think size is definitely a huge thing here. I'm not confident that the Knicks. I really thought the Knicks were gonna be able to win this series easily. I thought this is a series that could go 7 just because of how fun it would be. But I thought that the Knicks would probably be able to take it in 6. That was my guess. And I know that the series is now going back to New York, so it wouldn't surprise me if New York did take 1 game. I don't see New York taking Game 5 and 6, especially since Game 6 will be in Atlanta. But for me, the biggest thing, man, Julius Randle has not been there. And like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. This is his first time in the playoffs, and he has not, in his career, been on a very good basketball team. He was with the Lakers when he was originally drafted. Then he got traded to the Pelicans, and then he went to the Knicks last year, who had like the 5th overall pick. So he's not used to being on a good team. And so this is definitely, I'm not going to say that, he's not ready for playoff basketball. It's like he doesn't know what it's like. But I'm not going to use that as a prime excuse, because if you look at the Hawks team, like I was just saying with John Collins, or Trae Young, Capella, like these are all players, Hunter, these are all players who are young as well and do not have playoff experience. For the Knicks, man, okay, The one thing that I don't understand, why are you guys giving Reggie Bullock so many minutes? He has been not very good in this series. If you guys, like, for me, I'll be playing Burks at the 3. I would be playing like, the starting, JP, stop. The starting 5 for me would be D Rose, RJ Barrett, who's actually slowly been coming on. He had 20, 21 today, and 6 rebounds and 4 assists. RJ had a huge game today. But you put D Rose at point guard. Actually, I want Alec Burks as shooting guard, and then RJ Barrett at small forward, Julius Randle at power forward, and then Taj Gibson at center. Just because Alec Burks is a scoring machine, and I mean, he had 6 boards today too, and he had 12 off the bench. Like, come on. Yeah, he didn't shoot very well, 4 for 12 and 2 for 6. But in 25 minutes, like, you guys gave Randy Bullock 34 minutes today. That is the second most besides Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, and he gave you 0 points. 0 points. Like, you need scorers. You are not going to be able. We've seen already that you are not going to be able to defend Trae Young. Trae Young, for some reason, is just unguardable by you guys. And to be fair, you guys don't have a very good defensive team. D Rose isn't a prime defender. I like Emmanuel Quickley as a defender, but he's got to kind of come into his own. I do like Alec Burks a little bit as a defender. Frank Ntilikina I like as a defender. But, like, for the most part, okay, cool. Now you're locking down Trae Young. Who's going to lock down John Collins? Not Julius Randle, because I think John Collins has, I think he has 3 or 4 inches on Julius Randle. Who's going to lock down Clint Capella? Not Taj Gibson's old ass. Like Bogdanovich? Okay, cool. Then he's going to catch fire. There's just so many players that can shoot really well. And I will say that for the Hawks, I want to look at their percentages today, because they could not miss. It was okay. They shot 44%, which is only 2% higher than the Knicks, but they shot 44% on one more shot than the Knicks did. And my camera's dying. Fuck. Okay, we're gonna have to wrap this up super fast, it looks like. So yeah, I do think that the Hawks will end up taking the series. Brooklyn did just beat Boston by almost 20. They put up 140. Yeah, this series is over. I am kind of worried about the Celtics going forward though, because the Nets going forward though, because I mean, KD had 42, Irving had 40, and Harden had 23. So I mean, if you can only rely on those guys, like, that's going to be, I know that Brown and Harris also combined for 28 between the two of them, but I mean, if you're going against a team that, is very physical and big like the Bucks, that's going to worry me a lot. The Clippers and Mavs are tonight. I can't talk about that game because I have work in an hour, so I won't be able to talk about that. But if the Clippers don't win this, man, the series is over, and probably so is their reign. So that sucks for them. I don't know how much time I've left, so I'm going to end this right now. I do like these. If you guys want to see more of these, I will probably be doing more of these since the podcast comes out on Wednesday. There's a lot of change in headlines and stories by the time the podcast comes out, so I want to talk about this stuff because who knows? By the time the podcast comes out, every series might be tied somehow, and I miss talking about those. So that's it. I don't know how to end these videos, so